A lot of times families are also helping to contribute to their loved ones' financial situation to get them quality care. And so you'll see part of that kind of fall off, I think, later on down the road as we look, and more state fiduciaries and ombudsman, involvement with decision making. But then you also see people that we're not saving as much. We're more generations nowadays are spending more money, and I feel like we're enjoying life a little bit more, I guess, than previous generations. The previous generations were the Great Depression era that saved a lot of money and wanted that to go over their estate to go to their heirs and what have you. And I don't think we're going to see as much of that. So I think we'll continue to see a rise in state care.
Is it difficult to find homes or facilities with beds for Altex clients?
It is, and it's difficult to find quality care with Altex. I mean, I say this line all the time, and it's really sad that I say it, but more often than not, good care and Altex are very difficult to fit into the same sentence.
Yeah.
And I understand from the standpoint of a business perspective from the home and or community, because the reimbursement rate that they receive from the state is so minimal.
What is an average rate that the state pays for per month, or?
Well, it's there's a lot of different variables that come into play. Obviously the acuity level of the patient and which provider they're under. I mean, they're all pretty close in cost, but some price and structure a little bit differently because there's Mercy Care, Banner, and United. And then it depends on which environment you're in. The homes don't get paid nearly as much as the communities do. And then skilled nursing, gets paid obviously more than both of the counterparts. But yeah, it's still minimal for all three. And so, you look at most facilities, I would say the majority of them that accept Altex don't have as great of a reputation as the private pay counterparts.
Well, and like you said, if they have not minimal, but if they have less money coming in, there's less money for quality care, for the activities, for everything else. Even if they're full, it's just less to go around to pay for, good cooks and these other services.
Exactly, for higher ratios and to have quality food and to have grounds and maintenance of the facility, and just all kinds of different things. You look at all the stories of that you see on the news over the years when you can do a trend there and look at all of the stories that have been on the news. And I'm not going to name names on any facilities. Every single one of them was primarily state Medicaid ran facilities, every one of them. And it's unfortunate, but I get it. I do see a correlation there, and it makes sense of why. And it does come down to dollars. It is a business at the end of the day, because somebody's got to pay those care staff and somebody's got to provide the food. And, it is a very expensive to care for folks, for sure.
Dustin, we are coming up on an hour, and I wanted to cut it off at that point just to respect your time. You have a lot of knowledge, and I don't doubt that you could go on a lot longer, but I do want to, like I said, be respectful of your time. I do appreciate the time you've taken with me today to help explain some of the things and help me learn a little bit more about your business. Before we sign off, is there anything else that you think that we haven't touched on yet that might be important for seniors or for their loved ones who are considering giving you a call? Maybe what things to look for when it's time to make that call to either get extra in-home health services or look at potentially placing them in a facility?
I would recommend to folks to just start having that conversation. You don't necessarily need to start going out and touring places. I think that's jumping a little ahead of the game, especially in the sense that place may or may not have availability when it's time for you and may or may not have a good reputation at the time that you're ready for it. But I think that sitting down and having a conversation with your loved ones is absolutely important and something that folks should start doing very early on and continuing to have that conversation every so often. What's going to happen when this, and this transpires, or if this goes down? What are we going to do? And making sure that you have necessary documents in place. I mean, even somebody as young as myself, I'm 33. I have documents in place, that in the event of my death or, incapacitation, that my family can act on my behalf. And a lot of people don't have those, living wills and power of attorneys and trusts and things like that set up for their estate, and or just even from making medical decisions for people. And I think that's absolutely key and necessary to making successful decisions for people. And we struggle with that a lot with families out there. So just starting the conversation and having these things set up ahead of time will be very, very helpful when that emergent event happens, because that's typically what is going to make a placement transpire. Even if it's from an independent standpoint, it's usually somewhat of an event-based situation. Like a lot of times independent living is more of you've had a spouse pass and now they're lonely at home, the other spouse. So a lot of times that's I would say the majority of the independent placements that transpire are of that nature. Or people are starting to struggle at home with the maintenance of things. So it's always like an event-based situation for the most part when placement's transpiring. So if you're having that conversation ahead of time, it really prepares you for when that event does happen.
No, I think that conversation is key, and also keeping tabs on our loved ones, our parents, our grandparents, those people who are living alone, to make sure we know that, how is their health? Are they taking their medicine? Are they bathing themselves? Are they laundering their clothes? Are they able to keep up with the cooking and the cleaning in the house? Those are things that I've noticed. It's kind of an indicator of, hey, we, need to step up our conversation, but also, be ready to, get some extra help in the home, or start looking at a different situation potentially.
Yeah, and that's all what ends up being like systematic to everything that you just kind of touched on. It really starts to hit on everything else, because as people get tired with the maintenance of their home, and then they stop, cooking for themselves, and now they're filled with sugars and carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And then it's just systematic. They start having health issues, and then maybe their incontinence causing, I guess embarrassment over accidents, and so now that we're having dehydration happen, and it ends up being kind of a systematic thing where it all happens at once as folks start to kind of decline with being able to have their daily lives. So yeah, for sure, having those conversations, literally talking about that. What's going to happen, Mom? What's going to happen, Dad? Your aunts, your uncles. When any of number of one of these things start to happen, what are we going to do? And looking at people's financial situation ahead of time too, and starting to make some plans. And I've done the same even for my mother, and kind of looking at, well, what would happen, later on, she's not going to be able to work, and looking at her kind of retirement plan and all that. And we've gotten a long-term care insurance policy set up for my mom, kind of looking at those things. So even having, I think, conversations with, in your 50s is really kind of this time to start talking about it, because that's when we can start having health problems really as early as our 50s. I mean, it can happen a lot earlier than that, obviously, too, but on a more average basis.
Excellent. I'm going to include your contact information in our notes that I'll put out there. Do you want to let us know how the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I can be reached at my personal cell phone is 480-589-5530. The office is at 480-649-0008. And my website is chandler.assistedlivinglocators.com. That'll be being changed here in the short term, but I think it'll still get there from this recording either way, because we'll have it pointed there. But since I haven't changed it since I've expanded in East Valley now.
Excellent. Okay, Dustin, again, thank you for all your time. It's been informational for me. I've really learned a lot from our conversation, and hopefully we can have a few more someday. But at least for now, we'll sign off. But again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, great talking with you, Justin. You take care.
All right, have a good day.
You too. Bye.
I struggled to cut any of that content because Dustin has so much good information for seniors and the loved ones who are trying to help those seniors navigate various processes, whether it's getting funding for benefits through VA, the VA, Medicare, anything else, he's the guy to go to. Great resource. And this is a service that he provides free of charge. He left his phone number and information on how to get a hold of him. Check our notes in the post to find his web pages and other ways to contact with him. I'm grateful for his time. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen this far, and I hope you have a great and wonderful day.